Hello, this is the Ramblings of an Undisciplined Mind podcast for Monday, October 3rd, 2016. So, we went this weekend on a writer's retreat. First time I've ever done something like that. It was really interesting. This was done through the wife's college. The lady that runs a creative writing class there set this up so that students could go, and they had probably about 7 or 8 students, maybe not quite that many, and then they opened it up to some faculty. So like she brought her husband, and then there's a teacher that she interacts with that's from Oakland University, a different college. And she came and brought her husband and looked like a teenage boy or maybe preteen. And then the wife got invited because she's done some writing, and then they asked me to tag along, since we could. And so it was like 3.5 hours north of here in the skiing area. There's big ski resorts up there, and this house was it's a house, but it's on near or kind of hung off of one of the big resorts there. And we got there after dark, and we couldn't see what the outside was like at all. It was pitch black. When you were near a house, there'd be lights, but it was pitch black otherwise. But the house was massive. I mean, it had to be like 7 bedrooms. Most of the bedrooms had their own ensuite bathroom. Ours certainly did. We had a nice room with a king-size bed and this really big bathroom that had a shower stall and a jacuzzi tub, which I sadly didn't get around to using, and twin sinks and all that nonsense. And so then Saturday, so we got there probably like 8:30, 8:45, something like that. So we were just all kind of hanging out on Friday night. And then Saturday was where, the main day for it. And, so we had breakfast and all that. And then there was a 2-hour quiet time for writing, where everybody was supposed to, wherever you want to be in the house. Most of the students stayed downstairs. There was a living room downstairs. Upstairs there was this huge room that was a combination kitchen and dining room and family room. And I set up my PC on the island. There was power right there, and I could sit there and work. I wasn't working on writing something. I was working on editing the first Ness Relevant book, going back through that again. And I made some really great progress. I probably didn't get quite as far as I was hoping I might, but I made great progress in other ways. So I had previously done some things, like I pulled a chapter that is the introductory chapter for Ness up, so it's now, if I'm counting the prologue as the first chapter, it's now the 3rd chapter. But then I had 5 chapters with Glenn, who's the main antagonist for this book, 5 in a row. And I went through them and I edited them, and I was tightening them up and whatever, and I got through it, and I'm looking at the structure of the book, and I love Scrivener for this. It's just, I got to the point where I was putting on the notes for the chapter who the main point of view character is. And then I could go to the corkboard for the whole manuscript, and I could see, okay, I've got, Dr. Bertrand, I got Paul, I got Ness, I got Glenn, and then Ness. Just say, that's a problem. But the way the story is structured, I can't intersperse them anymore. And I realized that there is a lot of what was going on there that really wasn't all that germane to the story. It was a little bit, but it was mainly, Glenn is is sealing leaks, and he's trying to get a hold of this box that Bertrand is mailing to Ness. That is the time machine, and all of this kind of stuff. But I really realized that a lot of the stuff that was going on there, really isn't putting forward the bigger story. It's kind of giving us a sense of what Glenn's capabilities are and all that. But beyond that, it's not really progressing the bigger story of Ness running from Glenn and all that. So I eliminated 3 chapters. I have saved them. I haven't lost the text, but I pulled them out. I actually created a little archive folder in Scrivener. I just dumped them in there. And then what I did is in those 2 chapters, I did a little, couple paragraphs summarizing. He had to do this and he had to do this. So the thought process of what it was Glenn had to do is still there, but we don't need a whole chapter to talk about how he, dressed up like a security guard to convince the cops that the call that they got called to Intellisys to deal with the fact that somebody has died there because he melted into a puddle. I didn't need to see that chapter, really. I could handle that in a couple sentences and just say he had to do this, he had to do this. So I was pretty pleased with that. I actually posted something on Twitter and on the roundtable thing, saying I paid the iron price today. But I was more proud of myself that I recognized that. That I recognize, and I've been doing pretty good, I think, about recognizing small pieces that, a sentence here, there, whatever, there really isn't. It's just a lot of unnecessary detail, and I've been eliminating a lot of those. But I was working on one of Ness's chapters, and this was a long chapter. It was like 2,500 words. And I thought, I should probably split this into 2 chapters, because most of my chapters are around 1,500, 1,200, 1,500. Thereabouts. Maybe I should say 1,500, give or take a couple hundred words. And this is 2,500. I thought, I should probably split this. And I'm editing it. And I'm getting to the point where I'm maybe close to halfway, and I realized a lot of the stuff at the beginning of the chapter wasn't really necessary. It was showing how he parked his car in the parking garage. He went and got the mail. Ooh, there's a box and all of this. And it's just like, don't need it. So I pulled that stuff out, and, so now Ness gets to the apartment, he drops his mail on the table, and Shazam, it includes a box that he hasn't looked at yet. So I feel like I kind of leveled up on editing a little bit. So that was cool. We had a lot of time to do stuff. We had the couple hours in the morning, and then in the afternoon we had like a massive 4 hours of just free time. And I spent a little bit of time reading. I went on a brief walk around the house a little bit, and I did a little Minecraft. But I also spent another hour and a half of that just continuing on my editing work. And then at one point we did a writing exercise. So they had this game, I forget the name of it, but it was like a writing game, and you had 2 decks of cards. And one deck was describing your character, and the other deck was describing a situation. So we broke them into groups, and we had to pull out our cards. So we had to pull 2 of each kind. So like I pulled a sleepwalking fashion designer, and my situation was glasses and seeing their long lost love at the supermarket. So I wrote this little 400, and then we had to spend like 10, 15 minutes write a little something, and then share it. And the only other requirement was, your character has to change. It has to be at least a little bit, or at least a feeling of an arc over the course of those things. So I wrote this little thing. It's nothing I'm ever going to use, but I wrote this whole thing about this woman who's a fashion designer, who's designed a new skirt, and she's bought fabric to make the skirt with, and she's planning on wearing it tomorrow for a date with her high school sweetheart that she kind of fell off touch with, but they met at the Kroger farm produce section. So, but she sleepwalks, and even worse, she sleep sews, and so her sleeping self tried to make the skirt. The problem is that she's really bad when she sleeps, so she's basically just ruined the material. And so at the end, she's calling this number that her mom gave her for a psychiatrist to see if she can get to the bottom. She decides that she does need professional help to figure out why she's sleepwalking. And while she's dialing the phone, she's kind of looking at her bedroom curtains, at the pattern of her bedroom curtains, wondering if that can be the new fabric for her skirt. So it was, I felt like I hit all. She wore glasses. That was just kind of a quick throwaway. She got up from bed and had to throw her glasses on. I hit all the points I wanted to on the card. I did have a little bit of a decision-making process in that she decided to go ahead and give the psychiatrist a try. But it was interesting because we were talking about it later, and I called it like doing a cutthroat kitchen or a Chopped for writers, in that you don't know what you're going to get. You're given us some setting restrictions, and you're given some character restrictions, and you've got time restrictions, and then you got to see what you can make for it. So, and then we read each other's. Everybody shared their stuff. It was kind of interesting. It was kind of an interesting process. It was interesting seeing how people would take, and we each had different cards, how they would take their cards and deal with it. So it was an interesting time. It was a fun time. But it was just cool because we had pretty much everybody there that was into writing something. And most of them were writing short form stuff, and that was fine. But I could share with them that, hey, about the 3 chapters I eliminated. In fact, at one point, the teacher that was running this told my wife that she was glad I came, because she'd been trying to tell these students that sometimes you have to cut rather deeply when you're editing. And so then when we were talking about what did you accomplish today at the end of the day in our little group, I was able to say, well, I'm editing, I'm not writing, but I realized I didn't need these 3 chapters, and I cut them. And she says she thinks that was really good for her students to hear. She's been telling them, but she wasn't sure it was really sinking in. So yeah, that was fun. It was a beautiful house, and the food was really good that they made for us. And there may have been some adult beverages on Saturday evening that I may have partaken in. It was a fun time, and then we drove back yesterday afternoon. So that was fun. I'm continuing to edit. I worked on it some more this morning. So I've decided to make my goal, because I got stuff to roll out. I've got covers that are pretty much done, and so on and so forth. And so I've decided that my goals seem pretty clear, pretty easy. I need to finish this edit for the first Nostradamus book in this month, in October. I think that should be possible. And that includes, I'm actually really I'm hoping I can add some new content to this. I've added a little bit here and there, nothing big. I'm actually hoping I can find a nice spot where I could throw in another chapter, or maybe another scene, just to kind of add a little bit of new content to it. I will say that this is probably going to be considered a novella once I'm done, because I'm at like 41,000 words right now. So get that done the end of October. November is NaNoWriMo, so I will be busy writing something new. And then December, I'm going to focus on editing Stolen Time. So then my hope would be, I've got to get both those through the wife for edits, but my hope would be is like maybe February, March at the latest, I can be re-releasing these. And also be, and hopefully Wayward Time, the third book, will be coming out shortly thereafter. So that was what's going on there. That's what I thought I'd talk about today. A little longer update from Penslinger, but I personally I thought it was worth it. So I will let that be that for today. I will be back tomorrow. I'll be talking to you then. So be seeing you.